We need to talk about Reducetarianism. Reducetarianism is, as defined by the Reducetarian Foundation, the practice of eating less meat as well as less dairy and fewer eggs, regardless of the degree or motivation.
And I bet many of you here today are already Reducetarians.
That's Brian Cateman. He's the guy who coined the term. When talking about the reduction or elimination of animal products, there are three main angles that come up: the environment, personal health, and morality. Everyone who is a part of this debate, from the Reducetarian Foundation to the Vegan Society, agree on this. And they're all important. However, today I want to talk about morality. Why? Because it's the thing that's most relevant to the primary victims of the industry that produces animal products, the animals. Now, we don't typically think of animals as victims, but if we honestly consider the issue from their point of view, what else can they be? They're not willing participants. Today we use and kill somewhere in the region of 80 billion land animals and around 2 trillion marine animals per year. We confine them, separate them from their families, mutilate them, exploit their reproductive systems, and ultimately kill them. And for what? For products that we don't even need. If we did what we did to farm animals to dogs or cats, it wouldn't just be a moral outrage, it would be illegal. These animals can't choose not to be there, and try as they might, they have no chance of escaping. If this doesn't make them victims of an unjust and cruel system, then I don't know what does. And here lies the first flaw of Reducetarianism. It reframes the issue from an injustice that must end as soon as possible for the sake of the victims to simply being a problem of scale. It's saying that simply reducing the number of animals we use, hurt, and ultimately kill is enough. Imagine this represents all the farm animals in the world. Now fast forward in time and imagine we live in a Reducetarian world. The number of farm animals would decrease, maybe even quite a bit, and obviously that's good. But imagine that you are one of the remaining animals. Would you feel any better about your plight because instead of being 1 in 80 billion, you are 1 in 1 billion, or even 1 in 100? If we recognise that this issue is not simply one of scale, but is instead about the injustices that are being carried out on individual animals, then this is clearly far from enough. The whole point of an injustice is that we must end it, not simply just reduce it, while still fundamentally allowing the injustice to continue. Case in point, would we say someone who beats their dog should be allowed to continue beating their dog, as long as they do it a little less? Now imagine we fast forward again, but this time we land in a vegan world. Isn't this the outcome that best fulfills the overall aim of reducing suffering and creating a more equitable food system? And with all the food innovation happening, we wouldn't even have to sacrifice any of the taste pleasure we experience from consuming animal products. So if this is the best outcome, shouldn't this be the one that we advocate for? However, in opposition to this, the main thrust of Reducetarianism is that
not everyone is able or willing to follow a completely vegetarian diet.
And so offering people something of a compromise is more likely to get them to make changes. But the problem with this mentality is that an injustice is an injustice, and what is wrong is wrong. Sure, it can be inconvenient and even challenging to confront an injustice, but that doesn't make doing so any less important. And on top of that, even if it is better to be a Reducetarian than to be a hardcore carnivore, that doesn't mean there is any merit in actually advocating for it. Imagine someone comes across information about how harmful animal agriculture is, and then considers doing something about it. There are 3 courses of action they could take. They could do nothing, they could reduce their consumption of animal products, or they could become vegan. If we advertise Reducetarianism as the end goal, the prospects of that person becoming vegan decrease. Essentially, it would actually get rid of this option. However, if we advertise veganism as the end goal, all 3 options are still on the table. It accomplishes the same thing as advocating for Reducetarianism, but there's a chance the person would actually become vegan instead, which would increase their positive impact on the world. And it gives them the opportunity to also oppose other industries that exploit animals as well, like the fashion industry, animal testing, and the entertainment industry. Put simply, promoting veganism won't stop people from reducing, but promoting Reducetarianism will stop people from going vegan. And if the point of veganism is to reduce the suffering of animals, what is the point of Reducetarianism? To claim that it's fine to still cause needless suffering as long as you are causing a little less needless suffering than you have caused in the past. Finally, advocating for reducetarianism assumes that people are unwilling to confront reality and take action to change it if it causes them an inconvenience. Of course, this is the case for some people, but not for everyone. And as campaigns like Veganuary show every year, there are literally hundreds of thousands of people worldwide who are more than willing to change to end the unjust exploitation of animals. And not to mention, treating people like they're not capable of making a significant change in their life is actually incredibly condescending. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with praising people for the positive changes they are making. However, reducetarianism promotes those changes as being enough, when for the animals who are still being exploited and killed, those changes are obviously not enough.